Hello, everyone. It's the third episode of the HTFL podcast, here with special guest John, because Luke is going out to eat. So first of all, I want to wish Bennett a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Bennett.
All right. And to wish Bennett a happy birthday, the Cowboys have traded for cornerback Stephon Gilmore from the Indianapolis Colts, which is a very, very good trade. They only had to give up a fifth-round pick. And he's a five-time Pro Bowl corner. Little up there in age, but to pair with Trayvon Diggs, who probably works better as a number 2 corner anyway, is going to be really good for them.
Hey, Nana.
All right. So, moving on to our next trade, which also came out this morning, was the Giants trading a third-round pick for Darren Waller. And he's immediately Daniel Jones' best pass catcher. And the Raiders needed to clear up some space after signing Jacoby Myers. So, good move.
Yeah, I think it's
it's a great trade
for both teams.
I think it helps Daniel Jones out a lot. They can see what he can really do, even though they didn't give him
last year.
$160 million.
And I think Daniel Jones will end up having a really good season next year because of that.
So, I think a third-round pick, I think that is nowhere near enough for Darren Waller. I think they got an absolute steal. Practically just traded Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller.
True.
There he is.
All right. So, moving on to Jonathan's Miami Dolphins trading for Jalen Ramsey for a third-round pick and Hunter Long.
Best trade
So
in the
that's the
NFL.
best corner in the NFL for a third-round pick and Hunter Long.
Best trade of the offseason.
Jonathan, I'm going to be honest. I know who Hunter Long is. I've never seen him.
Jalen Ramsey is not good.
That's your hot take of the night, Bennett? That Jalen Ramsey isn't? Yep.
But he would have been good if the Cowboys traded for him.
Yeah, he will be good, yeah. Diggs is better.
Sure.
See, if the Bengals traded for Eli Apple for Jalen Ramsey, easy W trade, honestly.
All right, Jonathan, what are your thoughts on it?
Best trade of the offseason. The Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl because of it. They essentially traded like 2 third-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. I don't know who wouldn't do that. I don't know why nobody else did that. I love it. Great pairing with Xavier Howard, you know.
Oh, real? Why didn't we get Jalen Ramsey instead of Stephon Gilmore?
Bro. Yeah, I don't know. Go well with Devon Holland, too, and then, every other safety on the roster, every player around.
So, our next topic is Austin Eckler requesting a trade from the Los Angeles Chargers and that being granted. We do not know where he's going yet, but he most likely will be traded. And he is a running back that is extremely overrated because of fantasy. Most people consider him to be easily top 5. And Austin Eckler.
I would listen.
I think by most people you just mean me. But
yeah,
I don't think he's overrated. I think he's perfectly rated. I think he's like the 5th or 6th best running back in the NFL. He had a great season.
Yeah, I can't say I agree.
I think
Derrick Henry
touchdowns kind of mask all of his other flaws in most people's eyes. But like, I'm not too hot on him myself.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers will be going on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which will be today when this video releases. And he will be traded to the New York Jets. I'm very confident in that.
But it's not.
So
I think it'll happen. I think he's going to say
it really just depends on what the compensation is and whether the Packers get a player back. Yeah. Okay.
So, Tony Pollard's better than Derrick Henry.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. So, the trade for the first overall pick by the Carolina Panthers was a blockbuster, to say the least. They traded DJ Moore, 2 firsts and 2 seconds to move from 9 to 1. And I think I'm fine with that for them. I was a little opposed to it at first because it looks like a lot, and it is. But I'd rather need a quarterback one, or I'd rather need a wide receiver one than a quarterback one. So
I could not disagree more. All right, because they got rid of DJ Moore. You know what DJ Moore is? He's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. If he played his career out with the Bears, you know what? Already with the receiving yards he has, he would be the Bears' all-time leading receiver. He will be the greatest receiver in Bears history. He will be far better than any quarterback in this draft because Caleb Williams is not in.
okay.
Okay, in my eyes, this trade all goes down to whether the Panthers are good next year or not. Because if they're the number 9 again next year, trading 2 9th overall picks and 2 early second-round picks and a wide receiver 1 for a quarterback isn't great. But if they succeed next year with their new quarterback, I think it's a good enough trade. I think it really just depends on whether or not they're good next year.
Well, I completely disagree, but, DJ Moore's the best, quite arguably the best player in the league at this point.
So, what? Anyways.
I agree with Bennett on this one.
All right.
I think Mark Parsons is going to get Defensive Player of the Year next year.
I can see it.
Not possible. It's going to be Jalen Phillips.
Should have got it this year, but.
Anyways, moving on to the free agent signings from yesterday and today. Starting with the Bears going all out and really trying to succeed next year. Tremaine Edmonds, 4 years, $72 million, $18 million a year for a linebacker who was playing next to arguably an elite linebacker in Matt Milano. And Edmonds was a first-round pick, never really reached that ceiling. It'll be interesting to see if he reaches it in a different scheme in Chicago.
Well, Tremaine Edmonds is a great linebacker.
But at the moment, it looks like no.
Tremaine Edmonds is a great linebacker. He was by far the best Bills linebacker, but, and DJ Moore is their only big-time move.
Will, did the Bears have the most cap space going into this offseason?
They did.
Okay, I can kind of understand trying to get as many players, but overpaying for players who might not succeed as well as you would like is never great. So I don't know if I appreciate that out of the Bears after such a bad season last year.
Well, who cares about the Bears? They suck.
And they will always suck.
Yeah.
I perfectly agree.
Well, another Bears signing, TJ Edwards from the Eagles, 3 years, $19.5 million, much cheaper than the Tremaine Edmonds deal, about a third of the price per year. And this is a very good signing. Edwards was a breakout last year. I really like it, but it is interesting because him and Tremaine Edmonds are the exact same type of linebacker. So I wonder how they'll fit into Eberflus's scheme, where each of them will play.
I think the Cowboys should sign back Dalton Schultz because
they still can. He hasn't been signed yet.
I think it's kind of funny how the Bears are only going after defensive players right now.
Well, funny you say that because Nate Davis, the Titans' offensive guard from last season's time with the Bears, 3 years, $30
didn't y'all
million.
release one?
And What?
Didn't y'all like release the lineman because he's gay?
Okay. Anyways, so Nate Davis, 3 years, $30 million. I really wish the Titans had given him that, but it became clear, really after the Titans season ended, that they were gonna go into a full rebuild, which I support that decision. So,
Yeah, I think they made a good
letting
decision.
all of your pieces walk.
Well, what I see with that is, I don't know if they have enough draft picks to get their team situated. The Bears, at least, have enough draft picks to get their team ready for next year. But I think in 2 years, maybe they might have a decent shot at the NFC North and maybe a decent playoff run in the near future.
All right. So, other signings by teams. Ben Powers to the Denver Broncos, 4 years, $52 million. So a little more than Nate Davis. And I think he's right around the same caliber player as Nate Davis. So I don't really agree paying him that much.
You know what? I have one problem with TJ Edwards. Dude. All right. David Long was just so much better, and he got a lower contract, right? So the Bears, they got fleeced. They should have gone and got David Long instead of TJ Edwards. And that's the only
Well, I'm
opinion
sure
I
you
have.
aren't mad because David Long went to the Miami Dolphins for 2 years, $11 million, which is probably the signing of the offseason thus far.
It's still Jalen Ramsey, but, you know.
Jalen Ramsey's trash.
All right, moving on. David Onyemata to the Atlanta Falcons, 3 years, $35 million. And he was always an underrated interior defensive lineman. I think he really helps out the Falcons' defensive line. But it's interesting, he's the same type of player as Grady Jarrett, not nearly this caliber, but
Falcons haven't been good since 2016.
Okay.
yeah.
I agree.
David Onyemata isn't
All
that
right,
good.
Jonathan Jones going back to the Patriots, 2 years, $19 million, taking a pay cut. He had higher offers other places, but wants to stay and play for Bill Belichick. Very good corner with inside-outside flexibility,
You
and
know who else is a good corner?
helps that they can contain him.
You know who else
What?
is a good corner?
Who?
Trayvon Diggs.
I agree, Bennett.
Okay.
Super Bowl.
Well, with that, I would like to say if I was a cornerback, I would take a pay cut to play with Bill Belichick too. I just like to
Very insightful words from John.
Well, I
right
have
there.
an opinion on this one, all right? So, Jonathan Jones, if you're watching this, okay, you should demand a trade. And you should come to Miami because Bill Belichick is way overrated, and he hasn't been good since he won his last Super Bowl. He's been terrible since he got rid of Tom Brady. You don't want to play for that man. You want to come play for the best head coach in NFL history, Mike McDaniels, all right? Welcome to Miami. Demand a trade to Miami tomorrow.
Okay. So, Javon Hargrave signed with the San Francisco 49ers, 4 years, $84 million, and he makes that defensive line, which was the scariest defensive line in the NFL last year, even more scary, and it patches up that hole on the interior where Javon Kinlaw was playing, and Javon Kinlaw sucks.
Javon Kinlaw is very underrated.
I mean, dude, that 49ers defense last year was pretty insane. So,
Okay.
didn't they beat you in the playoffs?
I don't remember the Bengals even make it. All right. Anyways.
Anyways.
Second game of the season.
Okay.
Anyways.
Javon Hargrave was very underrated until he got that contract.
Maybe we should draft a new kicker.
All right, Mike McGlinchey, right tackle, who was on the 49ers, going to the Denver Broncos, 5 years, $87.5
Bro who goes from the
million.
49ers to the Broncos, he must suck.
He does.
Yeah, and he is a liability in pass protection, but a very good run blocker. But how much of that is Kyle Shanahan doing the work for him? We are about to find out.
Well, you know what, Mike McGlinchey, if you're
And
watching,
he's
I
making
believe in you.
$17.5 million a year now.
Now, we don't have a bud list like they do on like First Take or whatever. You do now, okay? I believe in you, Mike McGlinchey. You're going to do amazing, and Javante is going to absolutely go crazy. He's going to have 2,000 yards behind you. You're going to pancake every man in front of you. You're going to have a great season.
Okay. So another 49er leaving San Francisco is Jimmy Garoppolo, going to the Raiders. 3 years, $67.5 million. They can get out of it after this 1 year, though, and I expect they will. Honestly, I think they trade up and draft Will Levis and sit him for part of the year under Garoppolo, and then they cut Garoppolo after this year. Really just use Garoppolo as a mentor.
Let's talk about the quarterback shuffle going on right now, because there's a lot of quarterbacks.
Well, it's just mostly backup.
I know, but like, there's so many quarterbacks going to different places. And I don't know, some of these teams, like Mike White to the Panthers.
Mike White to the Dolphins.
Oh, Dolphins?
Mike White's going to be the best
John,
backup
I was
quarterback in
thinking,
NFL
Who
history.
do you think starting, him or Tua? Do you think starting White or Mr. Concussion?
Now, one opinion on Jimmy G. He shouldn't have a job, but he still does, just because everybody thinks that he just looks so great. All right, but really he sucks. If you watch him play, he sucks. Jimmy Garoppolo, I just don't believe in you. I believe in Mike McGlinchey, but I do not believe in you.
Okay. So, moving on to Cam Sutton signing with the Lions. 3 years, $33 million. Goes from the Steelers, who were very man-heavy, to the Lions, who were very man-heavy. So, should fit right in as an outside corner for them.
Great
Or a
signing.
slot corner. He can play both.
They're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hope the Lions get the Super Bowl.
If they do, it's gonna be
That would just be
Lions,
amazing.
Cowboys. Okay.
They're both in the NFC, man.
Yeah.
I don't even. You know what? I think
Didn't.
that two NFC to be able to go to the Super Bowl. That's what I think. Because the NFC sucks.
I think that the NFC has like no good teams at all. I think the Eagles are way overrated. And the only problem was that Tua got hurt, so the Dolphins weren't able to make it to the Super Bowl and blow them out. All right. You're going to see next season, the Dolphins play the Eagles, and I believe it's in Philly. Tua has a 400-piece waiting for him.
Tua getting hurt isn't going to affect him much if Tua sucks
All right.
already.
So,
That was personal.
okay. So, Jawan Taylor signed with the Chiefs to play left tackle, 4 years, $80 million. And Andy Reid is going to turn him into one of the best offensive linemen in the league. Okay.
I think if that was
Great
going to
words
happen,
from
then they
the
would have
NFL.
done it with Eric Fisher.
All right. Jamel Dean back to the Buccaneers, 4 years, $52 million. Good deal for the Bucs. I really thought he was going to get upwards of $15 million, $16 million on the open market, and the Bucs get him back for $13 million a year. Just an absolute steal. Great job by Jason White keeping his corner duo together.
On the flip side, I think it's one of the worst deals I've ever seen. I think Jamel Dean is one of the most overrated cornerbacks in the NFL. But if he wants to come to the Dolphins, we'll give you a 4-year, $4 million deal, because that's what you're worth.
$1 million a year. That's your big proposition there.
Oh, they did. Wow.
What sounds like Eli Apple.
Okay, Andre Dillard to my Tennessee Titans, 3 years, $29 million to play left tackle or left guard. We do not know yet, but either way, he'll be a stopgap, and hopefully he develops into the first round talent that he was coming out.
Maybe. I don't quite believe in him either. I'm not even going to lie to you.
All right. So, David Long Jr. to the Miami Dolphins, coming from the Tennessee Titans. 2 years, $11 million. The signing of the offseason, in my opinion. I don't know why we didn't pay him that. That's $5.5 million a year.
I think the problem is he just doesn't like
money.
the Titans, and he wanted to come to Miami and play for the greatest sports franchise in the history of everything. Okay? Everybody should come and play for the Miami Dolphins. Caleb Williams told you so.
You guys think you guys have that much money?
What?
Nah, I like seeing him torment the Cowboys. Okay. Bobby Okereke to the Giants, 4 years, $40 million. A peculiar signing, to say the least. He does not really fit Wink Martindale's scheme, and that's $10 million for a linebacker who's worse than David Long, who is worse than TJ Edwards. It just doesn't really make sense to me. He'll be asked to blitz a lot in their scheme, and I don't think that's where his strength is. I think it's in coverage. So should be interesting to see that play out.
Yeah, the Giants got policed. I think it's one of the worst signings thus far of the offseason. By far.
Oh,
Him and Daniel Jones.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
Zach Allen to the Broncos follows his old defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph. 3 years, $45.75 million. Massive overpay. I was thinking around $9 million, maybe $10 million for him. This would be maybe the worst signing of the offseason thus far. If it was a different scheme, maybe if it was a 3-4 and they asked him to play as an actual edge rusher. Or no, sorry, a 4-3, and they asked him to play as an actual edge rusher, that would be pretty bad. But at least he stays in the right scheme. Still a massive overpay, but at least they aren't overpaying him to play the wrong position.
Overpaying, in my opinion, is the worst thing in all of sports. It kills your cap. It kills your team. It kills everything. It kills the future contracts. I think he's way overpaid. I have no other opinion. He's not good enough.
Okay. Marcus Davenport, edge rusher of the Saints, goes to the Vikings. 1 year, $13 million, which is not a lot. I thought he would get a massive contract. He was the best edge rusher on the market. On the market in free agency. So 1 year, $13 million for the best edge rusher on the market is interesting to say the least.
I think it's a perfect deal for everybody. Me too.
But you can't do that.
No, I mean, if a team wants him, a team wants him, I guess.
I can gain a couple 100 pounds.
I mean, I'm elusive enough, you know? I'm him with you.
All right. Draymond Jones of the Broncos goes to the Seahawks. 3 years, $51 million. Keeping that pipeline alive, that Broncos-Seahawks pipeline. And I think this is a really good deal for the Seahawks. I had him valued around $18 million, $19 million. Just getting him for $17 million and getting him in the right scheme, I think is a very, very good thing. And the Seahawks needed a defensive lineman. That was their biggest weakness last year. So.
I have a problem with this, all right? It's the Seahawks, they're always signing these underrated players, all right? But really, they aren't that good. If you're really good, you won't be underrated. Everybody will know who you are, and you'll be making more than $19 million a year, all right? They need to sign some premier talent. They need to go trade for a Chris Jones or a Jalen Phillips, all right? They need to go draft somebody. They need to quit signing all these players. Oh, no, they're underrated. You don't win a Super Bowl with all underrated players. You got to have somebody that's great.
Okay. Jimmy Ward to the Houston Texans. 2 years, $13 million.
I agree.
Okay. So a rated player in Jimmy Ward, 2 years, $13 million to the Houston Texans, and this is a really good deal for them. He'll play free safety. Jalen Petre will play strong safety, if I'm not mistaken, and should complete that safety room for the Texans. And they've had these small, minuscule signings over the past couple off seasons. This is their biggest signing of the past 3 off seasons, probably. So,
you know what? I love this signing. I think it's a great signing. I think it fits their system incredibly well. I think he'll do great things in Houston. They won't ever win anything, so you don't have to have any great players there. Like, they don't have a shot at anything other than the number 1 overall pick 3 years straight. So I love that signing. I think it fits them perfectly. One of the best signings of the offseason.
Okay. Speaking of the Texans, a trade we forgot earlier was Shaq Mason getting traded from the Bucs to the Texans. Guard, who was traded from the Patriots to the Bucs last offseason. Really good for the Texans, completing their offensive line and hoping for Kenyon Green to show something at left guard next season. He was really bad this year. So if he shows something, then you have a really good offensive line for presumably Bryce Young.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a great signing because no matter how bad you are, you should still have an offensive line and you should still protect the most valuable player on the field. And I think that they're doing a great job at that. Something the Dolphins haven't quite picked up, but I still love them.
Okay. So, we have a special guest here, my little brother John. And he is here to talk about some of the Bengals signings and some of the free agents the Bengals let go. So, Jermaine Pratt coming back to the Bengals, 3 years, $21 million. Linebacker who, after the Bengals lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, made it seem like he would not be returning to Cincinnati. But he ended up returning.
He was not very happy after the AFC Championship, I'll tell you that. But, I mean, I understand that we weren't going to end up paying most of the defense. I'm glad we can get some veterans back who have been playing in the system for a little bit, trying to train the new guys that we're going to get. Dax Hill needs a lot of training. So, I mean, speaking of safeties, Jesse Bates is gone.
4 years, $64 million to the Atlanta Falcons. And that really helps out their defense.
And it really kills me.
They had a very bad coverage unit last year, even with a top 10 corner in A.J. Terrell. So if you get another safety, your defense is now suddenly...
I hate that. I hate that
scary.
for the Falcons so much. I hate all these good players, A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, going to the Falcons. Because you know what? Nobody watches Falcons games. If you aren't a Falcons fan, you will never watch a Falcons game. I can guarantee you won't ever watch every Falcons game of the season. All right. It is just terrible how they have to steal all this top-tier talent and throw them on all these terrible teams where they'll never be able to amount to anything. Like the Cowboys being a franchise.
Okay. Von Bell, the other Bengals safety, going to the Panthers, 3 years, $22.5 million, which is interesting. A couple of days before free agency, the Panthers restructured Xavier Woods' contract, who was their safety opposite of Jeremy Chin. So didn't think they'd be pursuing a safety, but they ended up doing that anyway. And I guess this means Xavier Woods to the bench or Jeremy Chin down into the box.
Well, what I'm just gonna say it's right now. Von Bell was a great, strong safety, and I personally think that they got him at a really, really good deal. I don't think he got paid nearly enough. I mean, honestly, him and Jesse Bates were absolutely phenomenal in their backfield. Both of them.
Well, Bennett's gone.
Yeah, we lost Bennett.
Benny Boo's gone, but I think it's time for Offensive Player of the Year himself, Samaje P. Ryan.
Who signs with the Denver Broncos, 2 years, $7.5 million. He will start for them while Javonte Williams is out for the first part of the year, and then he will be that 1-2 punch that they like at running back for the rest of the season. Good deal for the Broncos, not overpaying.
I hate to brag, but I have some insider sources on this one, and I've heard that Javonte might be out until late in the year. That he might not be recovering as well as people are saying. All right. And I just may know a guy, that I trust. I think Javonte won't be back until closer to midseason.
Well, yeah, this is a very important signing then.
Completely agree.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to have one more comment on the P. Ryan situation. That leaves us with a criminal at running back and then no one else. So if we keep Mixon, then we're like the Raiders, and if we cut him, then we're running backless. So, this is really... So some of those were really important for us, especially because we now need a strong safety, and we're probably going to end up trading for one or getting one out of free agency because we need somebody to train Dax Hill. And then Eli Apple is still a starting cornerback for us, so he makes me cry myself to sleep. That's all that you really need to know about Eli Apple.
All right. Well, this has been a fun podcast with our special guest while Luke is away.
I have a couple more things before we
All right.
All right.
Happy free agency period, and hope your team does nothing stupid.
Don't forget about Chris Lindstrom and his $105 million contract. That's all I have to say.